Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, Tim.
Mr. Conley,
Here.
Grateful,
Present.
Bennett,
Here.
Mr. Marvel,
Here.
Whiteson,
Here.
Ms. Hellman,
Here.
Mr. Patterson.
All right, thank you. Do we have any additions or revisions to the agenda? Hearing none. To approval of the minutes from the February 22nd meeting. Everybody should have that in your packet. Motion to approve. Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Old business. Update on convention center management. Neil?
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks. So here's an event summary from February. January and February were light on business. We only had 11 events in February, which accounted for about 17 total days. So a couple of those events were multi-day functions. Total attendance was 720. Gross revenue was a little over 50,000, and parking revenue was actually our best month to date at a little over 3,700. This is a list of the events that we held in February. Looking at statistics, it just breaks it down by the type of event and attendance by event and gross revenue by event. We had one convention this past month, and so conventions typically will generate the most revenue. So even though you might do a lot more banquets, one decent sized convention can total what multiple banquets would generate. So conventions is the type of business that we want to go after, but so it's typically your long-term book, and so it takes a while to get a lot of those in the books. But we do have, I think we've got 11 of them on the calendar for this year so far. For food and beverage, we added some full spouts to the back of house beverage station. So back of house, we have where our coffee urns and tea urns are. We've got a small beverage sink, and we fill up really large crates of glasses for banquet functions. Sometimes we're filling up 1,000 glasses at one time, and to do those by pitchers makes it really hard. So we've added a pull spout so that we can actually pull that spout down and then fill each of those glasses. It creates less water on the floor, keep it from being so slippery back of house. So we've added that back there. We'll probably add another one as we get busier to the other beverage station in the back of house. And then we added one in the kitchen on our large 3-bay sink as well, so that we can spray dishes in that sink, make it a little bit easier for cleaning large pans and trays. We've started working with Kindred Root Farms to provide them with food waste for their composting program. I think they're trying to work with the city on a sustainability initiative, and we're trying to really think about sustainability too on the convention center front. For our industry, it's kind of an industry standard that we're all going to, and so this is kind of a natural fit for us. And so what we're going to do is when we have food waste, so stuff that may have, if it went out on a buffet and we can't, serve it to employees or anything like that, a lot of that stuff, it just ends up going in the trash. So we'll put it in buckets, and then we'll have them come pick it up, and then they can put it into their compost, and it can go to back into the soil over there into what they're growing on their property, on their farm. And we're open to, if there's other farms that are looking for doing those things too, we can do that too. We don't have a lot of food waste. We're really cautious about how much we're preparing so that we don't have a lot, but sometimes we get shortfalls in attendance, and there's really, there's nothing you don't have any control over that. We do have food that doesn't go out on a buffet, or like say it's a pan of chicken that it hasn't been out to the floor and it could go back in the walk-in. We typically will donate that to like Catholic Charities or something. I think we had food that we took over to them Monday morning from an event this weekend. So we try to make sure that we're making good use of that product. We're working on developing new menus. So hopefully in the next few months, we'll have some new menus that will come out, just like revisions. Bill has been working with Chef on spend down calculations for all events, so that we're really able to control food costs. So we typically, what I've given our chef in the past is kind of a month to month look at, here's your budget to spend for food, so that we try to hit certain margins, and he's really trying to finite that and looking at every single event and making sure that, as food costs is going up, we want to make sure that we're still getting high quality products, but we're not overspending on things too. We are in the process of creating a captain server training handbook for new employees. We had a couple wedding tastings this past month. We've been working on more cakery type products that we can create from scratch. We have a small kitchen staff, so everything that comes out of the kitchen in terms of entrees is all homemade. Nothing's boxed and things like that, but sometimes pastries, muffins, things like that we might get from a bakery. And so we're trying to make it more of in-house things, like what are the things that we can make more on our own now that we really kind of understand how our kitchen operates and how to function in there better. So we're adding a little bit more to our plate. We have hired a couple new part-time kitchen and banquet staff, and one of our staff does have, she has a background as a pastry chef, so she came just at the right time. So now we are able to kind of utilize some of her knowledge as well. From operations standpoint, operationally, we, as a team, had our group read, there's a book called The Bread Factor. We have really great customer service here, but we can always take that up another notch and continue to work on the best customer service and being our best selves. And so we had all of our staff, we did a 4-part session on the bread factor, and we brought we broke it into 4 pieces, brought everyone together, really talked about it. It's really kind of helped in terms of relationship building amongst our team, and really kind of helping our part-time staff as they come in, really being able to understand each other, understand everyone's jobs, and work a little bit more cohesively together. All of our managers have been going through audiovisual training and any other trainings that we have back at house. We're really trying to get all of our staff to understand everybody's jobs. So if somebody goes on vacation, it's not that one person who knows how to do that job. We want people to be able to leave and go on vacation. I want Martell to go on vacation and I can process payroll. So that way she doesn't have to worry about doing things before they leave. So we're really just trying to create that atmosphere where everybody knows how to do a lot of things. Brady has met with contractors about getting bids for the garage storage room for the as a capital project. We're wanting to air condition that space. He has met with Garmong and a couple other electricians, but we still need to get a few more bids to have some comparative pricing. So we are still working on that. We ordered more garage parking signs that read have payment ready, credit card only. So that way, when we are assisting folks getting out of the garage, they're not waiting till they get down to the machines to get their payment out. We have full-time managers underwent CPR and first aid training. Our part-time maintenance person accepted a full-time position at the Hamilton Center, and then we promoted one of our part-time operations folks to our maintenance tech position. We did our annual fire safety inspection and our semi-annual hood systems inspection, and our fire extinguisher inspection was completed last month as well. Had a few issues this past month. Our parking garage, one evening, we had a lady who had some difficulties operating the machine, and she pushed her car through the arm. She was later pulled over.
Driving her car too.
Correct, yes. Yeah, she was pulled over 9 minutes later after leaving the garage. So, but we did find out who it was, and so we're waiting to find out when her court date is, and we have sent a bill to the police department so they know, what the cost was to repair that arm. And because of that incident, we have purchased 2 more arms to have on standby. She easily drove her car through. It did damage, I'm sure it damaged, well, I've heard it damaged her car. But I have heard from the technician, we have a smaller garage compared to some of the other ones that they manage, and they have seen people really drive through those arms and bend them all the way back to where they're not serviceable. And so he recommended we have an arm or 2 on standby in case that does happen, because it typically will take 4 to 6 weeks to get a new arm in, so we wouldn't be able to operate, you know, both lanes without it. It actually happened on a Friday night, and I think it was either a Friday night or Saturday night, and then the next day we had an ISU game, which was their biggest game, and our garage was full. And so it took a really long time helping folks get out with one lane open. And so it's really important that we do get that in. So that'll be here probably in a few weeks, and we'll have it on standby. We did have another incident where we had a transient in the facility during an event. He was asked to leave the premise, and then he got really combative with one of our employees, and that employee ended up having to file a police report because he started pushing and shoving him, and so he filed a report, and so that's another one that will probably end up. I think it's in the prosecutor's office right now. And then this month we had, I'm sure some of you saw on Facebook, we had someone that was stealing some plants outside the building. So the gentleman came back 3 nights in a row in the middle, or not 3 nights in a row, but 3 nights within like 6 days. And one of those nights we were able to identify what car he was driving. And this was going back and looking through the video footage every night. And we were able to find his car on a separate evening. So the police came out and ran his plates, and then went to his house that morning, and he confessed and returned some of the plants. So it's been an exciting month. Moving to sales and marketing. The sales and marketing team contracted 11 events last month, totaling over $76,000 in future revenue. 2 of these were in the month for the month business, and the rest is for the remainder of the year. They're currently working 48 tentative leads, which totals a little over $400,000 with almost 2,000 hotel room nights. And we've got 11 contracts that are out right now, which total almost $65,000 and 100 hotel room nights. So we only had a few site tours last month, but you can kind of see, you know, some of the promotions and advertising that sales and marketing has been doing, and then our community involvement. A lot of the early part of the year has been getting new ads out and really just trying to push promotions and social media advertising and things like that, trying to reach local and regional folks planning events. And then this is just, you know, some of the Facebook posts and some snapshots of things that we have going on. We will be doing our Mother's Day brunch again, Sunday, May 14th. We just sold our first set of tickets. I think we sold 4 tickets yesterday for that. So we'll have those up for sale, available for sale. I think we shut them off probably about 3 days before the event last year. That way we know exactly how many folks will be coming. Last year we had about 130 folks that attended. So I'm hoping we'll have a little bit more this year. And what we did was we were doing some time slots so that we don't have everybody coming at one time. So that way we have time to like be able to seat people, and we don't have so many people up at the buffet all at one time. And then this is just some of our website and social media statistics. And then in terms of what's on the books from this point moving forward for the remainder of the year, we still have 44 contracts that are, or events that haven't taken place that are contracted, which total over 4,000 or 400,000 in gross revenue. We have 10 contracts out for 2023. We've got 26 proposals, and then 2024, you can see our numbers for 2024 are starting to rise. So we have folks that are looking at a year out, which is typically what we want. We want 12+ month bookings out. And so those are starting to pick up now. So we've got 17 proposals that are out, and then we've got 3 proposals for 2025 so far. Total funnel, not going back to January, but just from this point out, we've got almost $900,000 in our pipeline. That's it. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions for anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 5.2, update on operating budget and cash flow. Baker Tilly's not here.
Again,
There you go. Thank you.
I can give an update on the projected cash flow. You'll see in February, actual food and beverage tax. I have more copies in here.
No, it's there. So, yeah, go ahead, sorry. Right in front of me.
Actual food and beverage tax collected in February was 282,914. This is up from February of last year at 242,000. And that trend remained in March. You can see projected out, what the projection shows for the rest of 2023 is really based off of what was collected in 22. However, March, you'll see is higher at 286,000. That is what was actually collected in March versus 220,000 collected last year. So definitely, bringing in additional food and beverage tax this year. In addition, and I'm not sure it's Neil on that, your amounts there, if that's still in the works or if that was already sent in,
For which one? Sorry.
the 175.
Yes, so that has already been collected. The 10,000 for the CBB, I don't have a confirmation on.
Okay, all right, so they have that projected for March then, so,
I think it came last week.
okay, all right. So bigger till you haven't seen that yet.
Okay.
So anyhow, so that's where that is, for next month. Just other items I wanted to note on here, for the museum. There is just a placeholder in there for October. When the original budget was done, it didn't really include audio visual. There is going to be an expense for that, and so that's just a placeholder. And, the chair, President, museum chair there, president of the museum chair, sorry, he's not president of the board anymore. RFPs are out and he can give an update on that, and hopefully we'll know what that amount is next month. Other than that, everything else is very similar to what was presented last. Any
Good,
questions?
any questions? Oh, thank you, Terry.
Welcome.
Okay, 5.3, update on Larry Bird Museum. John?
Thank you, Mr. President. We're doing real well with the museum, with Ravenswood. They have identified several areas where they're negotiating, with several different people that they got figures from. For instance, the stretch and wrench thing, the vertical height, machine and all that, they're trying to find, they found one that they can buy off the shelf, which is gonna save several $1,000s. So we're doing well with Ravenswood. We're holding pretty close to our timeline. We advertised March the 17th. And again, on the 24th, we'll advertise for notice to bidders in the Trib, and also court commercial record over in Indy for the audio visual RFP. So hopefully we'll be able to stick to that. By April the 27th, actually the 26th, we'll have our regular meeting here and have a resolution to adopt and select a successful bidder for the audio visual part of the museum.
Okay. You good? Questions?
No, just one other item, and I'm not sure if this falls under the Larry Bird Museum, but our contract for cataloging and collections expired March 15th.
Okay.
Don't know if the board, my recommendation, since we are really making the push to finalize that cataloging, is to extend that contract from March 15th to May 15th. So it'd just be 60 days, and then that would be hourly based off of the same rates after May 15th.
Do we have that in writing or anything yet, or what?
We don't, I'm gonna hunt to Doug to see if we can, approve that, if this board feels that that's, just. And then perhaps the new president can sign that contract.
Yeah, what I'd suggest, without a paper resolution is just to make a motion, to authorize the, president of the CIB along with legal counsel to, extend the current contract and then negotiate an hourly rate after, what state said May 15th.
Correct.
So we can do an oral motion, that'll be captured in the minutes and we'll negotiate that agreement, with you there.
So how much longer do we think it's gonna take? I mean, what are we really looking at,
So,
you know?
I can, have Shelley answer that. She's had some delays. I'll speak on behalf of you and then you correct me if I speak out of turn, please. We've had some delays with a lot of the audio visual and the fabrication. Most everything's going to have to be cataloged within the next 60 days. And then, we'll need to work with, Shelley on, having maintenance, cleaning, restoration, some of that work, since she has access to the collection, is what I foresee that, some of that work being done after.
And yes, she's correct. As far as the cataloging, that's very close to being completed. The next step, which, and truthfully, I don't have an exact timeframe, nor will I until I get a better idea. The next step will be the restoration of all of the items themselves. I'm in the process of trying to set a timeframe with a company in Indianapolis that's what they specialize in, just to get a better idea of how long they would need, what their time frame would actually be. There are also some items we are still waiting to come to Terre Haute that have not yet been cataloged or accounted for. They all have to be taken into consideration when them do for the restoration process. So as far as timeline for the restoration, I'm hoping to have a better idea on that. I will hear within the next, at least the next couple of weeks, once we can actually get them here to actually look at the collection itself too.
Okay, so I guess, is that in the form of a motion? Are you ready to make a motion?
Well, I just wanted to open it up for discussion. John, with him, really kind of chairing the museum, if that sounds.
Well, we'll probably know better, after we do this RFP and find out for sure which that we're going to award it to. And then get some idea from them what their time frame is.
That's why I feel like the 60 days.
Okay, so all right, then I guess I'm just thinking, why don't we just extend it 60 days and then let's revisit it at that point, because I don't know if we need more time or less time to go to hourly or not. I don't know. I've not been directly involved in all that, so I have no idea really, other than what I've heard in the meetings that, I mean, we just need to get it done, there's no question. So however we can accelerate that, that would be great, but there may be some things that are out of our control that obviously drag this on a little bit longer. So, but I'm fine with whatever you guys wanna propose and make a motion.
I'll make that motion and, any thoughts anybody else has any?
Last second.
Okay,
60 day extension to the.
so 60-day extension. So, okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? So we're clear that we just extend it to May 15th and then we'll revisit it at that time to see, we'll get this information and find out what we need to do next. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion passes. So that's all we need to do to make that right, then, Doug, right?
Yes, and I'll get that agreement drafted and, ready for signature.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, anything else on the museum?
Could I? Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot to mention, we had 4, companies that picked up the RFPs. One of them, was actually from Boston. So, Ravenswood is kind of leaning, I think, towards the Boston people, but we'll just have to see how the other ones play out.
Boston connection.
Yeah,
It's Boston Productions is
yeah,
the,
productions.
they've had, and there's one other gentleman actually that's in there that's also, from Boston. The first one is on the list there.
Winiker. Who is Novatech?
They are, I think, like Nova Scotia, I think it's Canada. They were the ones that reached out to me and asked for the RFP process, so that was sent to them as well. So at least 2 of the 4 companies that have reached out have done work with the NBA. So, where are some of our concerns with some of those copyrights? The audio-visual piece is 2 pieces, it's production and integration, and they will work collaboratively with Ravenswood in making sure that we have all of the NBA rights and that we need for the museum.
Mr. President, just a quick clarification. Those were people that asked for the packets that were sent out. No bids have been submitted yet, and we still welcome all bids to be submitted by the timeline.
Okay. This is exciting and it's moving. Appreciate your efforts, everybody. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, move on to 5.4, update on legal matters.
Most of the legal matters have been with the Library Museum, so I won't take up any more time on that. Ravenswood is under contract. I've got a signature page here for you, Mayor, to sign before the end of the meeting. And just got an update from Brian that we're still waiting on the easements. We've had those out for 3 weeks now and haven't heard back, but still working towards the easements for the back alley part of the garage.
Okay. Same color for us. Is that yours, Dick? Yes. Okay, thank you. There was a car in the lot doing that at City Hall yesterday. It was driving me crazy. Once you hear it, you can't get it out of your head. Okay, very good. Let's move on to new business. 6.1. Consideration of CIB resolution 2023-03, which you all have in your packet here. I'll just say a couple things and then Doug, you can say whatever you want on this. This is kind of the first step in the process, so this is a resolution to basically empower the president and or the vice president to move forward with all the actions necessary to bring this to fruition. So it's the first step. Obviously, well, I'll talk about the next steps in a minute, so go ahead and talk about.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So there's been interest expressed in donating the Indiana Theater. Part of the statutory process for purchasing a property over $25,000 requires the board to express interest in the property. I understand it's a donation, but there can be expenses related to the property that could exceed that $25,000. So just as a precautionary measure, we're having this resolution to express the interest that will allow the mayor and the legal counsel to go through the due diligence process, check title work, environmental, an engineer report on the building, so that once we go through that process, the board understands the condition of the building and the property, and we can further negotiate that donation. So this just sets up that legal process.
I make the motion to approve resolution number 2023-03.
Okay, there's a second.
Second.
Any other discussion?
You want to explain what you're going to explain?
Well, no, I can do it after this. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, so now we can move forward on things. So I just wanted to briefly say, here's kind of how I see it playing out, and we'll kind of move forward with this. We'll have some documents for legal review. That process will start immediately. We will need to identify somebody to work with who's an expert in these kinds of buildings. who've done theaters, you know, we just wanna make sure we hire somebody who has the expertise in restoring those kind of facilities, so we'll need to go through and select somebody to do that at some point here, once we kind of get the ball rolling. Just as a reminder to the public, I've had several comments about the donation, and a lot of community excitement has been very positive. The people are saying, you know, how's it gonna get paid for? So one of the things that I wanted to be able to say today is that, you know, the city and the county and the CBB will bear the vast majority of funding required to remodel this building, not the CIB. So it'll be same kind of process we did with building this particular building. It will be funds from a variety of sources. It could be ARPA funds, edit funds, whatever. But the city and the county will both make those commitments, and David Patterson told me that the CBB would be making contributions in this too. So we'll work with Baker Tilly to figure out all the finances of that once we get to that point. But just from a public perspective, I want to make that clear that that's where the funding to restore this building will come from. It'll be owned by the CIB, but it'll be the same kind of scenario that we did to get this building constructed. So what I would like to do is kind of fast track this as quick as we can. Obviously, we got to go through some, you know, steps here, administrative steps, but I think this is a great project. That's my personal opinion, and I know the board, I've talked to most of you, if not all of you, are in agreement to that. And I just think it's gonna be a huge positive thing for our community. And so from the CIB perspective, we want to, you know, move this forward as quickly as we can. So there's gonna be quite a bit of work that's gonna need to be done. It's gonna take some time. Can't estimate that yet about what that might look like, but I wanted you to know that behind the scenes, we've all made a commitment to fund this, so we'll get that through the councils appropriately at the right time. But the CIB doesn't have to worry about funding a significant amount of money to remodel that building and put it into service. I just think following the same model is the best approach. I don't know much about remodeling theaters. I've been through that thing many a time. Brian, Coistra has offered to volunteer to help us with this process, which is tremendous. Thank you, Brian and Greg, for allowing that to happen. So what I would like to do is put a small ad hoc team together to kind of work on that on a daily basis. And this will flow back through the new projects committee, like we talked about before, and then bring it to the board. And so I would say for the next meeting, hopefully we'll be in a position where we'll get through the legal process of this and be able to bring something back here, and then we can really get things moving after, you know, we actually take ownership of it. So that's just my general thoughts on that, just to share with you what I kind of have in my mind to move this forward. So I'd love to hear any comments or suggestions for that scenario.
Will, after it's remodeled and up and going, will we maintain it in the CIB?
Yes. So we'll need to do the same kind of thing we're beginning to do on this one, to put a capital plan together and all that. Once that time comes.
That
Yeah.
includes management.
Yeah, so, you know, there will be an agreement, I didn't mention that, you know, that we'll be inheriting that Greg already has with an operator. So we'll have to figure that out, I'll have to deal with that legal side of that. I'm not worried about that after looking at it, it's gonna be pretty simple, but we want, you know, Tennille and her staff to be able to schedule the other events around to work to coordinate to utilize that facility. I mean, I'd love to see, you know, lots of events going on there, they can utilize that. So we'll have to develop that agreement, you know, so the secondary one to this particular building, in addition to, or however you want to look at it, but to help manage and schedule and do those kinds of things with the operator. I don't know exactly what that looks like, because that's kind of a unique arrangement, but I think it's very easy to deal with.
Yeah, I think the opportunity for these two different buildings to work in community is important. Probably first-rate movies, and then a wedding on Saturday, and then a bank or, you know, reception over here or something like that. So I look forward to, especially when, you know, we have groups that need breakout space and stuff like that. It'd be a perfect opportunity over there.
Yeah, right. And then there's already been a couple of groups that reached out to me that would like to make this a permanent home for their activity. not mentioning any names at this point, so. I think there's a lot of excitement about it. It's gonna be a very unique facility and restored it to what it was in the past. I can see all kinds of different things going on there, so. First rate movies, obviously, with a schedule and free nights mixed into that schedule, days, weekends. I mean, you're gonna be able to complement this building tremendously, so.
I guess, should I get clear, is the goal to restore it and keep as much historical,
Yes,
truly historical value within the
Yeah.
building as possible?
yep. I mean, the main things that need to be done, needs a new roof, it needs to be cooling system, but I mean, restoring what's there is the goal. We want to bring it back to what it was before. Anything else on that one? Okay. Well, this will be a topic of conversation moving forward every month from here on out, I suspect. To make that happen. Okay. 6.2, consideration of CIB resolution 2304. Go ahead, Doug.
Resolution 2304 is the qualitative incentive fee for OVG 360, Oakview Group, for management of the convention center. Per the operating agreement annually, Oakview Group is eligible for a qualitative incentive fee up to $25,000. Attachment A, or sorry, Exhibit A is to Neil's proposal and report on the qualitative incentive fee and her recommendation. So what we'll need the board to do is review that and then approve an amount. Exhibit B is left blank for you to decide what the amount is that would be eligible for. And if it's okay with the president, I refer to Neil to go through the report and make a presentation.
Sure, so, when we, got to the end of the year, we several factors that we looked at based on what's in our management agreement. We looked at our customer satisfaction metrics, based on our surveys that we send to clients after events. We had a 44% return rate on surveys, which I don't feel is bad for the first year. We're trying to get that number up, but we were at a 4.75 rating out of a 5-star scale. So that's kind of set our benchmark. And I feel like for our first year, I think we did pretty well coming in that high. We looked at economic impact goals. Though we don't have a really large hotel base downtown. We're trying to track, the amount of hotel rooms that are being consumed here. I don't have a number to put with that. What we're trying to do is trying to quantify how much folks are spending when they're coming down here. So I'm trying to work with the chamber to come up with, how do we come up with some of those numbers? How do we do some surveying of guests? I've been talking to Dave Patterson about how do we push out leads to the hotels, even for the little pieces of business. I know he has a small office. So we're really working to try to figure out how do we really try to quantify, how much people are really spending when they're coming to conventions here. Achievement of annual event fiscal goals. What we looked at is, we were $34,000 above budget this year. So we ended the year a little better than what we did. We knew that the revenue wasn't quite coming in at the beginning of operating. And so we really looked at our expenses and thought, how can we really control expenses and keep expenses down? That meant utilizing a lot of folks to, do a little bit more, really training our staff to be efficient. And so I think we've done a really good job with that. We've really taken care of the building in terms of repairs and maintenance and trying to keep those costs low and making sure that we are taking care of as much as we can to keep all of those down. And then looking at the quality of management operations and our food and beverage service. And I think overall we've done a really well job for our first year. We also looked at, we're only taking the units of operation into consideration. We operated from April to December of this past year. We also took on the FF&E coming on board too, which, most of that was typically going to be procured by Nations Group. And we ended up going through and making all of those lists and procuring a lot of that a lot of that equipment, and so doing all the sourcing and all the accounting part for, I don't even remember how much in a dollar amount that we actually procured on our end. But that was months of work, you know, that we didn't expect, I guess, in the beginning. And so what we were looking at was a $15,000 incentive versus the up to 25, because, you know, looking at 9 months, it wasn't a full year. We feel like we've done a really great job, and we feel like 15, you know, is suitable for the incentive.
Any question? Thoughts about that? A motion?
Want the motion to approve resolution number 2023-04?
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We need to claim the amount though.
Yeah,
Okay,
so they've asked for 15,000, the board will need to decide whether it's 15,000 or a different number, and we'll input that on exhibit B.
Okay, sorry, I just assumed that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you guys okay with 15? Then we're in the discussion part here. We have a motion on the floor. Is it 15,000 okay then to plug into there?
Yeah, my only recommendation would be some type of matrix, if we could come up, if this is an annual, correct,
Correct.
incentive?
Yes.
So I would like to see it, I guess, more of a matrix, so then we're consistent with that annual.
John would, like to make another recommendation.
I know how hard Tenille and her staff have worked here. And even though it's a 9-month period, you can just look around, it still looks like a brand new building, and the food is terrific. As we all know, having attended, I would like to recommend a $20,000 incentive. It isn't the full 25 for a full year, but I know how hard they have worked.
He needs to withdraw her motion.
Yeah, we can do that. So I guess I'm just looking for a consensus to. We think that's
I agree.
okay, then, yeah, that'd be the best
I
approach
didn't
here.
attach any dollar amount.
No, you did not, but that's okay. Just withdraw it if you would.
Motion withdrawn.
Okay, so that's off the table then. You're good with that as you were the second, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the motion then would be for $20,000 and including the words about creating that matrix, I assume. Is that in here, kind of in some?
The,
How should we attract that?
I would suggest that we approve the dollar amount and we can work towards matrix going forward. There's criteria in the agreement, and Neil went over on the 5. But we can try to put percentages, if that's what the board's looking towards, percentages and more of a matrix going forward, but I would separate that out.
Correct, that was just a recommendation
Yes,
based off of all of her highlights in there.
and I'm good with that. Okay, all right, so then we'll open it back up for a motion then with that dollar amount. You want to? It's your call.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-04, with adding the dollar amount to exhibit B of $20,000 for the, qualitative incentive.
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for that. All right, very good. Other business, questions or comments from CIB members? Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
I have one thing, Mayor.
Okay,
I'd like to make a suggestion and open up for discussion, moving forward, although I love this room, I love the convention center. I think it might be smart to move our meetings starting in May back to the Butte County Council Chambers. I think the community engagement is going to step up quite a bit with the Indiana Theater and with potential athletic complex that we're all talking about. We're gonna have to have room for those people to sit. I know it's Neil gave us more seats this evening or this morning, but Karen is there, the auditor's office is there, Tammy's there, and they do all of our paperwork and stuff. It's just Not really difficult from over here to have a meeting, but just makes sense to me to do it back to the council.
So there you go. Any thoughts on that from the members of the board?
We can't move in April because, of course, 2 months out of the year, the council chamber was closed for early voting and voting, so May would be the earliest we get it.
If we meet the commissioner's office then on those days.
Or we can come here, wherever we need to on those days.
Sam, do you use this room or this, are we, meeting on?
No, so right now I've got this room blocked out on our calendar for the year. However, I have it marked as an internal event, so if we have a customer that wants to utilize this room, then what I would do is that point, I'd let you guys know that, hey, we've got someone wanting to sign a contract on here. And I would move this down to one of the ballrooms or room 102 or something, which we would just do a hollow square down there. Consistency though, like if we are moving out of here and then moving down into one of the ballrooms, like if we were to move to a bigger room consistently, that might be a little harder just because we do have a lot of events that utilize the ballroom space a little bit more than what's used up here on a Wednesday.
We don't have to make that decision today, just trying to figure out something.
We're looking for opinions, it's not making any difference to me.
Okay. Yeah, any thoughts?
I guess if we need a bigger room, but I enjoyed the convention center, I think it's right here, so if we need more space for the
I agree, I like being in and out of the building here, just to kind of keep us all engaged, but,
Any thoughts, John?
Well,
Here's on spot.
we started out there and either place is fine. And I suppose if, when we get the feel that the public is going to really be vocal on what we're doing in the athletic field, then we can do this. But I'm here too.
All right, well. That would be the first.
Finally, the finally concern is, RJ also shows up with their team of 4 people, Pros Consulting shows up with 10 people or 5 people, whatever it is, plus the public, plus presentations on TVs. With 1 TV, 1 computer, where we have 4 TVs, 6 TVs now in council chambers, and 1 different for additional TVs. So if we want to do that play by ear, by the month, that's fine, I think, but to me, almost that consistency is the key.
Well, let's think about it, and then next month we can decide to change it, if that's okay with everybody. I had thought about it for you second today, so let's think about that one. Okay, do we have anything else from the board? I've got one brief update, from the Pros Consulting folks. We had 1,600 total responses to our survey. 1,055 actually completed it. Some of them just didn't finish it in the 1,600, but we got some information from them. That's pretty good. That's a very, very good response rate. So RGL Solutions has done a great job, Tori, in helping make this happen. They still plan to come in our May meeting and share their findings. So during the month of April, they'll continue to put their things together, summarize all this feedback, and kind of provide that analysis to us. And they're, like I said, they're still on target to be here in May. We'll have them here, that group will be here to present their findings. So I'm happy that we're still on schedule with that. Excited about that project too. Okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, the next meeting is April 26th here at the Terre Haute Convention Executive Board room. That's what it says right here in front of you, Chris. We'll discuss that next month. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? So move. Do we have a second? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, very good. Thank you, everyone.
Second.